sticking to their guns here. Actually, they've taken the bans, I believe, from Vietnam on their red side.
Yeah. Okay, sure. All three of those are standard bans. You shouldn't live in a world where Superman or Omen or Arum get through the draft consistently. Of them, Omen is the one you can let through occasionally.
All right, here for Vietnam, going to be locking in the Moloch for themselves. Going to have that ultimate to go for the fights into the jungle or look to zone away members of China during a dive.
Irie will come out. Oh, no, I shouldn't call things ahead of time.
I know. It's a little spooky. It's a little spooky. We get to see all the splash arts now.
I was excited for the Irie because the Irie to me is a sign of more aggression. We don't get that, but they do get the Lindis.
Oh, man. For Vietnam, that's not what you want to give over because we saw, you know, Yichen on the Fennec was doing damage. Now on a Lindis, it only gets worse.
Lindis is one of the most powerful marksmen in the game, if not the most powerful, and her speed, she gets a little speed boost when she goes into brushes. What that means is a well-played Lindis just zooms around the map. It's insane.
On top of that, Yichen himself already clears out the jungle at an incredible pace. The amount of gold he generates for himself alone, he's sitting at 710 gold per minute coming out of the group stage. The guy is a farm machine, and that's with China also looking to engage on fights.
One of the other things to talk about if we're working on positioning is Yichen has some of the lowest damage per minute taken of all junglers, sitting at just 1,900 average damage per minute coming into today.
It shows that he has great positioning during these fights. That's the main reason why his KDA is also 9.6 coming out of the group stage.
And everything about him is that impressive, and I do feel it all comes from that smart movement. You're able to farm well if you're zooming around the jungle quickly. You're able to stay safe in fights if you're playing back, keeping yourself safe, and of course it's a delicate balancing act. You don't want to be irrelevant to the fight, but you want to be safe enough that you're not focused down. That's how you achieve that high KDA.
All right, Vietnam here, a little bit of a switch up, because Blake really likes that Liliana. It was available, instead opting in for the Tulin.
I can only see the Tulin as a sign of changing things up. Both Tulin and Liliana fit rather similar roles.
This is a poke-heavy composition coming out here.
That is the exception. I would say Liliana typically has to commit more to a fight, so a ton of her damage comes from that combo with the unpredictable, using the Riki shot, and that takes work, dive, effort going in. Tulin, by contrast, can kind of hover towards the back of a team fight if you're playing it passively. Maybe that's the idea. We want to play defense, but we don't want to give up all these major objectives. Build a composition that can prod away at the Chinese team as they go for our towers.
My only concern here is Polo on the Joker. You know, early on we saw China able to abuse him, able to catch him out during the rotations. Sure, you're on that Joker, you have a little bit of CC immunity, but still, if he gets chunked out, that's going to force him to have to back off because he's mainly just here as a poke machine.
Yeah, I do think Joker's got a little bit more mobility. Of course, with that ultimate canned laughter, you dash towards an opponent and then leave. You're still very targetable. Due to a recent change, he's targetable during that animation, which makes it significantly less powerful, but it's a good escapability.
But look at how much CC coming out here on the side of China. They're really just saying, hey, if you want to come at us, we will knock you around.
Arduin, Lumber, Crexy, I don't know what you do in the face of that, because you're going to get stunned, you're going to get slowed, you're going to get slowed, you're going to get stuns.
You're going to get knocked up?
Yep, it's going to be brutal, and I think that will be ugly to watch.
Yeah. Trying to change up their draft here, but it looks like China, they're saying, all right, sure, we'll play something a little bit more different. Our Wombo combo that is just ready to go during these fights. On top of that, then, even if they don't clean up all the members of Vietnam, with that Moonfall, Yichen will just be on the side waiting to clean up. But the Slims here for TFs, I think this requires TF to have to go make plays early.
Yeah, it also gives them a little bit more C, so I guess that's good. I'm just genuinely not a fan of Slims because I feel his only real major ability is that stun.
Another thing for Vietnam that we saw in Game 1 for also was Bronze 5. We didn't really see him.
He was shut down.
He was shut down. And a big factor for Vietnam when they won games during the group stage was Bronze 5. He was able to farm up, he was able to find some kills and apply pressure, but when the enemy team was able to isolate him, it kind of just becomes non-existent.
I think also we're seeing a bit of a capitulation to that as well, because the Malik is not a character you typically see run isolated.
Yeah, especially he doesn't have the true 1v1 carry potential you'd often see with his other picks most of the time. Either way, it's going to be China looking to take game 2 here as they walk on in.
China do need to play this cautiously. Don't get overconfident. Play it smart and safe.
Well, knowing them, though, they like being aggressive, TJ, so...
A very confident team, would you say?
They're extremely confident. You see Bronze 5 coming on over, looking to just zone away. So the rest of the team down toward the bot side of the map, looking to just clear up for Vietnam, though. For them to win, oftentimes we say you got to slow down the pace of China and their early game aggression.
It's a hard rope to walk. Vietnam typically play very slow and safe, steady, if you will. If they don't also slow down China, that's just them playing overly defensive. If they are able, though, to take a few team fights, actually lower the overall pace of the game, I think they come out on top.
But then if you look at the side of China, they oftentimes want to fight those team fights early, group together. We saw it last game. It was usually a roaming squad of 4 at that point when 9AK in the bot side with the Zenial. You know, they just have the power here, especially with the team fights. There's a lot of combinations they can go for with the CC and the AoE of Nanwan.
And specifically when you're Vietnam, you're trying to find pressure to create that slow game. You have to worry because China are game to take these fights.
5, he gets the shield on back, but he'll get taken down by Mengji, as that's going to be blood going in favor of China.
And I don't know what Vietnam do except run. Blake still in trouble.
He's got the blinks, but he doesn't have that much. He's going down extremely low. Trap is going to pop, but he's able to get out of the radius just underneath tower, but that's going to have to back.
And that's what's known as an effective kill. Here's the replay. Bronze pushing forward. He's got Polo and TF to back him up, but Nanwan's Crixie play round the corner is so smart because it forces them to reconsider their positioning for even just a moment. If they decide to dive onto him, he's already retreated. He's already round the corner, so he can't be taken down himself, but his presence stutters them, scares them for long enough. Bronze is taking a 1v3, and there's no way he survives.
And we literally just said for Vietnam, slow and steady wins the race for them in this case, because China love going for those team fights, especially in the tight corridors with Nanwan on the CC. That's just so much AoE and the CC available. Oh, Yamate!
Beautiful.
Stealing the Abyssal Dragon. I take it back. Vietnam, they're able to at least pick up something.
Nicely done.
All right.
Slow down the pace of the game like so, and be able to find these major objectives. You can't rely on steady steals, but Yamate earns his team a reprieve, brings the world back to even.
That was Yichen actually missing out on the punish there, so a little bit of a mistake that we don't see too often from China, but see how they respawn. That's actually a shock coming on down. Nanwan over toward the side, going toe-to-toe with Blake in the jungle, is able to escape. Blake making his way up toward the top side of the map. 4 members of Vietnam looking to pressure this top lane tower.
Blake very quickly found himself surrounded by far too many Chinese members, but they'll still go for this tower.
Oh my goodness, Junjun forced to back off. Yichen, though, coming back in onto the side, wants to go for the play. 9AK leading the charge. Yamate also hit. 9AK finds the knock-up. Yichen picks up the kill. They're able to also add an additional one to the counter. Yamate on the backside. He's going to fall. Yichen has now picked up 2 kills. I believe he can make that now 3 kills on the lane. This is not where you want the gold to be going to on the side of China. With Vietnam, now they are looking down the barrel of a super-fed Lindis.
That was such an odd team fight because it starts with Vietnamese pressure. China normally have this split push thing down, separating up the fights. They're all coming from one side here, and it's only the 2 tanks that survived the initial burst and actually managed to eke back something for Vietnam.
You saw there Yi Chen with great positioning, picked up actually a quadra kill during the fight in top lane. That is, that's the kind of start you want for Yi Chen.
That's what he does.
There's a reason why he sits at about 80% kill participation out of groups. On top of that, he's scary on the Lindis.
What Yi Chen does, that's why he's one of the most terrifying junglers in this World Cup.
You see Junjun there, gonna go toe-to-toe with Blake, just wants to back off. Abyssal Dragon started up here. Polo takes a decent chunk of damage. Look at this, China now rotating toward this bot side. You see Yi Chen able to just shred down Yamate if he stays around for too long. The knock-up coming in from 9AK. Not enough to actually pick up the kill. Up toward top lane though, for Vietnam. Have been able to apply pressure toward this top lane tower and take it. How much are they going to lose, though, down toward this bot lane? Yamate just jumps on in. He's looking to delay the charge of China, I guess. But that's going to be a kill and a tower in favor of China.
China are just out-rotating their opponents right now. You can see that their map knowledge is doing very, very well. This is just things that you can see from individual players. Normally, you don't quite have a full picture of the game. And we're not quite there. Many Arena of Valor teams, they still rely on overall team coordination, their shot caller setting up the entire game for them. Here at China, it seems like every member just knows vaguely what's going on, knows roughly where they can stand.
Can't be caught out like that. Moonfall also coming on down. He gets evaporated in the rain.
Again, map knowledge. Vietnam should have known that river was not safe. There are sharks in that water.
That is scary for Vietnam, though. If they want to come back into this game, they need to find a way to slow down the game. Allow Bronze 5 to help lead the charge. That's the way to do it. Actually, is able to land a 3-man knockup. Again, take it down extremely low. There's no disengage, but Monkey just doesn't care. He'll trade his life 1-for-1. Nan1 now bringing down the ultimate. The knockup's going to connect Bronze 5. Polo, though, gets on in there, finds the kill.
Beautifully done by Vietnam. Both to deal with the flank and to then take the team fight by knowing who to dive in and focus. Nan1 melts, and even though that fight starts so rough, it's carried by a man like Bronze 5.
Yeah, you saw Bronze 5 leading the charge there. If he's not able to get fed on a side lane, get farmed, he's able to help lead the charge, I guess, during these fights. You saw that 3-man knockup to start off the fight for Vietnam. That's what they need to help get themselves back into this game. They now limit the goal total to only a 2,000 advantage in favor of China after falling behind early.
China may finally have been stymied. We said slow down the game, force China to play the Vietnam style, and we do for the first time see China playing slow, looking for picks, having to play an awkward way for them. It's quickly over though.
Yeah, unfortunately, that tower isn't going to be surviving for too much longer, and that really opens up the map here for China. All the outer towers are taken on down. This forces Vietnam to have to play defensively. You do see Bronze 5 up toward the top side of the map with Polo. Might be looking for a play. Knockup's going to land. 9AK, though, is still pretty tanky. Looks like the tower gets taken down to about half, but look at the response. China looking to answer. You have Yi Chen coming on the Lindis. Junjun also coming in for a party. Wants to go for a play, but they take down the Lindis. Polo's able to find the snipe. Nan1 wants to try and find the kill, but the Joker escapes.
And the rest of Vietnam is here to save the day. China shut down.
Bronze 5 leads the charge. Junjun does get the 3-man knockup, and unfortunately Nan1 still a little too far behind. Use the ultimate already. That's a great call by Vietnam. Understanding the cooldown is not there for Nan1, and they're willing to go for this fight.
The fact that they're able to dive in and shut down Yi Chen instantly saves those two players who were isolated. Then they split. Polo, knowing he's weak and an obvious focus, runs as quick as he can. Bronze stalls out the time and calls for the rest of Team Vietnam to come through from the side lane and force China back.
And this is what I wanted to see from Vietnam, an answer here in Game 2. You told me after Game 1, where they got perfect gamed by China, that they'd be keeping Game 2 as close as it is, 6-8 the kill total in favor of China. The big difference for me, though, is still this mid-lane tower, the first tower. Once you get that down, it really opens up the midsection of the map. And unfortunately for Vietnam, they can't push much farther than the river.
Here's the Spirit Sentinel, major objective.
Oh, TF gets knocked around underneath the Dark Slayer. Doesn't get aggro, though. Finally, it's going to actually go for something. Yamate has to be a bit careful, sits about half health. China pushed them back. So Vietnam can't find anything. Meanwhile, though, in toward the side lane, Bronze 5 was just looking to clear out the wave.
Good energy surge there from Yamate. We talk about Jargnar. I'm not typically a very big fan of him, but he has all these invisible little impacts. There he can stay a little bit longer than the rest of the team because he's CC immune. He won't just be burned down.
The trap here is set by China. Want to try and get Bronze 5, but he's still now pretty tanky here. Can't really burn him down just yet. Also, Polo's there for the support, so China looks like they're trying to set up plays, but they're not manufacturing anything.
Here's another play, but it's red. Vietnam know exactly where they are because they're checking these pushes with projectiles. That's maybe what this poke is for.
Comes on down, finds 3 members. Bronze 5 with the engage. Vietnam, they have to react. They have to respawn. Look toward the backside, though. Mungji is able to get on top of Blake. Nanwan is over toward the side. Blake is alive. That's such a key factor here because Yamate can look for the disengaged. Vietnam, they find a pick.
These Vietnam team fights are so clean right now. I'm loving every single one. Look at this team fight start. Bronze 5 knows he can tag the front line due to his build, and he has a little bit of backup from both Polo and Blake. Mungi dives in. He's trying to isolate Blake and burn him down, and instantly TF, Polo, and Blake all focus through, make sure he dies so the rest of the fight can go their way.
Oh my goodness, Junjun gets caught out at the Dark Slayer, and the Dark Slayer is actually captured here by Vietnam. Can China burn off some of these buffs, though, in the ensuing fight? They got 2 members already. They're able to back off. A good call there by Vietnam. They're at least able to secure 3 buffs. What does China, though, get on the map?
Well, they get a lot of control for the next few moments, but I'd like to highlight what that does for the Vietnamese gold. They have been constantly, I think, out-farmed by the Chinese. This gives them a way back into the game. Just for a moment, they're back at tie. That Abyssal, though, changes it back to the Chinese favor.
Yeah, the Dragon control from China has been clean so far, as they've only given up the 1 Abyssal Dragon so far during the series. Now look to rotate. This is now looking a little bit toward the side of China. Vietnam are going to be looking for a fight. And now just looking to push on in Yamate. Gotta be a little bit careful. For me, actually, Polo on this Joker, a lot more impactful than I was expecting.
Very good support character. You expect to see him poking, providing some pressure. He's actually provided a lot of the damage during these team fights, and his canned laughter ultimates have been deadly every single time onto a key member like you.
See here, Nanwan just using the ulti just to clear out the Sage Golem. Vietnam looking to spring a trap, but he is caught out by Yi Chen.
This is bad from Vietnam. They just missed the entire buff. It's now faded. China knows it, and they're going to take advantage. They're going to go back on the offensive. It was a momentary reprieve for Vietnam because China didn't dare take the fight into the Slayer buff. That reprieve is now over.
Polo gets some damage there onto Mungji. Still going to back off. Bronze 5 just looking to clear out this bot wave. As China has been manipulating that bot lane, actually often sending just 1 person to push back the wave, letting it build up and then push back toward Killing Joke is not going to be able to find Junjun. No damage coming out there, but Polo's got to suspect something's up here. Blake wants to lead the charge, gets taken down pretty low, though, by the Lindis. He has to back off, even with the shield.
Look at Monkey. Every single fight, it seems like that Scud is constantly looking for a flank, looking for a poke setup. China, though, they're looking for more than that. They want a constant invade to keep that gold lead, and they'll get it.
But here, TJ, we're now hitting 13 minutes, starting to see the end of the item builds and the levels coming on through. China rotating up toward the top side. Vietnam, they have stalled out the game, but can they hold on for much longer with China now pushing here?
It's a little bit of a race. Polo and Vietnam press top lane. They're high ground, those down bottom.
Shot comes on down. Yamate wants to go for the engage. The Lumber ultimate's going to come back to And go for the disengage now. Blake rejoins the party. It's a 3v4 Vietnam can hold.
Tiny little moment. They managed to force out that ultimate Moonfall, the highest damage ability on the Chinese team, on just the two tanks. Two characters that can absolutely take it.
Gonna go on in here. Wants to find it. Junjun's able to escape. 9AK, he's still pretty tanky. Nanwan on the side of the fight. Shock's gonna come on down. They see 9AK. He's still, though, so tanky. Moonfall now off cooldown. Blake almost gets assassinated by Mungji. Nanwan will find the kill. Bronze 5 will fall. And now Vietnam, they're running for the hills, but China are picking up the kills.
That was far too aggressive from Blake. He leans out into the bush. He thinks he has a fair fight. Maybe he can catch off 2 instant members, but it's the 2 tankiest members of China that he's fighting. He gets so unlucky, or maybe just China are predicting that bush impact so well they only send their tanks to check it.
You see Nanwan flickering in just to finish off Blake. So there's no more mage available for Vietnam, and now the pressure's coming through here in the mid lane. Moonfall coming on down. Yamate will fall himself. China rotating up toward the top side.
Some very long respawn timers still on the board, but most of Vietnam will be back in the next 5 seconds. 4 of them now up, but only 1 high ground remaining.
For Vietnam, they were able to keep this game so close, but it was just one mistake, one bad call, and look how much China take back. They take 2 high ground towers, they take 4 kills, and they take themselves a 5,000 gold lead in less than a minute.
And it's all just like I said, Blake thinking he can spring a trap. He doesn't have enough backup, I think, and China just check it, obviously, with their 2 tankiest members, 98k and Junjun. They lean out, they take the fight, they have no trouble at all fighting one Tulan, and as a result, now that has the game in the bag.
They pick up yet another Abyssal Dragon. Bronze 5 goes toe-to-toe with Junjun. Both tanks respecting one another, but China now starting to group toward this bot lane. You can now see the call. Let the mid lane and the top lane push into the base and then form up for a fight on this last high ground tower. After you take here, Vietnam, they can't fall for this trap, but they might just lose their base if they don't fight back.
This Malak cover on bronze is built really tanky, and I like it. It's so that you can fight things
Shock
like this.
Comes on down, doesn't find anybody. Yamate wants to try and take down Yi Chen, but he survives. Thunderbird will not find its target. Junjun used the ultimate just to zone away over toward the backside. Mungji is able to take down Blake. China pick up 3 members of Vietnam for the price of 1.
It doesn't matter how tanky your front line is, if your back line is completely split off like that. This could be the final high ground.
China now knocking on the last turret of Vietnam in the bot lane. Still, though, the dive comes on through and Polo just gets obliterated. Yi Chen now onto the core. Vietnam, they are looking at possibly facing elimination in Game 3. TF, he wants to try and save the base, but he has no one else around as China takes the series lead 2-0.
If that's how you knock on things, I'm scared for my hotel door. They just blew past
They took a okay, they were knocking on the door with a sledgehammer.
I could tell. It melted. Was demolished in seconds, and that's what this Chinese team have done so well. If you're ever like, man, how do I take a tower? Constantly feel like I'm not able to press through. What these Chinese players are doing is a tutorial.
And look at them, it's just another day at the office, TJ. Calm, cool, collective, and a couple smiles here and there. You saw, though, on Vietnam, heads are down. It is now do or die. They were able to bounce back after a devastating Game 1. We'll give them that, but they have to do a little better because it's just one mistake and China will turn the game.
Look at the gold difference. I really do think that Vietnam played despite losing the gold game quite early on. They were being consistently out-farmed. Only earned it back via major objectives.
And that's a good call for them. They've changed up their play style, but Yi Chen on yet again this Lindis. Look at that kill participation, TJ. 89%.
Yep.
Is all over the place. Also picking up a triple. Actually, that was a quadra kill in top lane to begin things off. It's not the start Vietnam need.
No, it might be the start they deserve, though, because that was a very risky push.
Very risky, and we can take another look at the plays. Bronze 5 was able to find great shock ultimates to come down, but unfortunately, one misplay there in the mid lane, and China just took it all the way back home.
A very different play style from Bronze 5. We typically see him staying completely isolated in the lane. Here he took the front line. Oftentimes was what led his team into team fights, and he did the role very well, multiple times saving the game.
And you got to give it credit. Someone on Vietnam needed to make the calls, needed to lead the charge into these fights. You see there China, after their win, still looking pretty good. One thing I will give Vietnam that I did enjoy, though, is they went for that Dark Slayer after catching out 2 members of China.
Yeah. Very good conversion into objectives. Then, though, we saw that defensive playstyle from Vietnam rear its head again. They had the Slayer buff, they had multiple players cowed behind the towers on the Chinese side, and they did very little with it.
As you see there, 9-19, the kill total. A 9,000 gold lead to end things off. 9 towers for China, the 4 Abyssal Dragons on top of it. So for Vietnam, now it's do or die. You're heading into Game 3 with the possibility of being sent home tomorrow and not making it to the semifinals. Vietnam, of course, will have blue side for Game 3.
Vietnam with the first pick, with the first ban. I don't know how much the draft changes, though, because that was perfect. Maybe you drop the Slims. I'd like to see something with a little bit more tower damage picked up, like a Violet.
That could be nice, actually, because, you know, TF, he was around, but I didn't see as many flying spears as I'd like to. It was mainly used as a follow-up. I didn't see it often leading to ganks early.
It wasn't the initiation. Most of the time that initiation came from the Malik that I'd absolutely like to see picked up again. Bronze 5 showing another side to his play.
Now see bans coming on through. Vietnam, once again, the Grak not being allowed for China. China, of course, being on your red side, of course, going to ban away the Superman. And they're even banning away, like, the Omen. China are just off. They don't feel like they've been challenged yet.
No, I mean, why would you? Just ban out the characters you feel like you never want to play against, and why worry about counter-drafting if nothing's really countering you?
Exactly. Vietnam also banning away the Zenial, the Arum on top for China. Now coming down here, Vietnam, you can see that team, they are still, you don't see much communications right now, TJ. This is looking a little bit, you know, dire. There's a lot of stuff going through these players' heads at the moment, because honestly, you're thinking, we lose this game, we're done. We lose our shot at $200,000. We lose our chance to play over at the TCL Chinese Theater.
Last year at the Asia International Championship, Vietnam was the team that got far further than anyone expected. Constantly pulling out upsets, pressing forward against teams that were rated as much more experienced and much more successful. Here, maybe they expect to do the same, maybe they can do the same, but it needs to start now.
And so far, TJ, the picks are remaining the same. Coming out from China, the Scud and Lindis once again for Yi Chen.
Malik coming through first for Vietnam on Yamate. I do like. It's a good pickup that we saw for Bronze 5 last time. Presumably it's being passed back over to him, and if so, maybe he can have the same impact.
Lead the charge, lead the team fights, and find the kills, turn that into objectives. Vietnam, they were able to slow down the game in Game 2. They didn't get steamrolled by China like we saw in Game 1. Now, time ticking down for the picks here on the side of Vietnam. Need to decide what they want to go with.
Oh, yeah.
Blake, all right.
I like the Crixie. Yeah. Tulin was very powerful at the poke game, but I think taking the Crixie away from China is just as important. Yamate, very, very, very good at securing that front line, slowing down the play. But it wasn't enough. We still saw that Crixie finding big damage repeatedly.
So those are going to be your lock-ins here. China with the response. Nanwan just having some fun. Flexing through the Flash, the Tulin, even the Ignis. I doubt that's actually going to be coming out anytime soon from China, but we'll have to
I wouldn't
see.
put it...
I wouldn't say it's out of the question.
Yeah.
Like, China might have been seeing it. Tulin